Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. Today, we're talking UFC Vegas 88, Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. We're going to talk three plays here on the show. And if you're new here, we do not talk about every fight on the card because we're not going to be betting every fight on the card. So here we're looking for strong betting opportunities. We pick about 3 or 4 fights to break down, dive deep into where there's value. And we're looking to place our money in strong positions. That's our spot. And boy, have we done it for clients over the last 7 UFC events. I've cashed all of them. A nice 7-0 run this Saturday will be number 8. So feeling good about that. Picked up about 7 units last weekend. So really feeling good, man. Just really seeing the board well, really finding great opportunities. And if you want to become a client, link down in the description. Wagertalk.com. Check me out right now. I have a 4% best bet play up right now on a nice 5-0 run on best bets as well too. So have that up right now. Really like that spot, and then we'll be adding some more spots as we get closer to fight night on Saturday. And then as well, if you want to get into the fantasy side of things, Underdog Fantasy Sports, our sponsor, check them out. Link down in the description, but check them out at Underdog Fantasy Sports. And listen, Mr. UFC, that's the promo code. They'll give you $100 to play with. So you go pick that up and tell them I sent you. So with that being said, we are going to dive into the main event of the evening between Tuivasa and Marcin Tybura. Now, you've got Tuivasa here. He's a -125 favorite. And you've got Tybura here, a small dog at +105. Now, this is a spot here. We've got Tuivasa, who is big power puncher, gonna look to brawl, gonna look to push forward, gonna look to throw some heavy leg kicks. And then the other side here, you've got Tybura, where he's more of a grinding kind of style with some nice ground and pound. Now, this is definitely going to be, a clash of styles when you're kind of looking at it. Again, kind of the heavy power striker versus more of the grappler here. That's kind of how it's kind of worked out. And you look at Tuivasa, I mean, listen, this guy has big power and 15 wins, 14 by knockout, has shown to really be able to bully guys, push forward. When he lands, guys go down, and he has really been able to do that over his career. Big power hooks, as I said, leg kicks, just strong leg kicks, mixes that up in when he, throws some leg kicks. He's looking to kind of open up the big shots upstairs, and that has worked out for him in certain spots. On the other side here, you've got Tybura, where most of his striking is really just a cut distance. He's really not looking to really hurt you as much. It's kind of some shots, cut distance, look to get his hands on you, look to clinch, look to put you up against the fence, find opportunities to cage push, work you, wear you down a little bit. And, that's worked for him. That's another thing. Again, it's worked for him, but very, very different styles when you're looking at it. And, the thing that I do think is something that does favor Tybura out the gate is this 5 rounds, and I think, although I don't see it going 5 rounds, I think that does help Tybura in a spot here where I do think that his gas tank is pretty good, and he has shown to be somewhat durable in certain spots. Now, I know he just got knocked out by Tom Aspinall, but that's Tom Aspinall. But in general, he has shown to have some cardio. And I think one of the spots, going back, watching tape, rewatching certain things, was his fight against Alexander Romanov. Now, Romanov at the time, he was looking to be the kind of the next big thing. Big power guy, body slamming and taking down Tybura and all these things. And I think it was very interesting how Tybura kind of worked through all that. This guy could have given up at a certain point, or he could have been broken, or anything to that extent. And really, he showed, resilience, kind of being able to kind of work back. He got, to get to a point where he was able to bank the second round and then made it a fight into the third. And Romanov was pretty much done at that point. And that just shows, I think, to me, that he doesn't give in. And it also shows cardio, because he was thrown down. He had to keep working up, keep fighting, and he was able to do it. So I really thought that was actually a fantastic showing for him in just all areas, and not just the fact that, he beat him and bullied him, or Romanov. He was able to fight through a lot of adversity. And I think that says a lot about a guy who is older, 37, 38 years old. He has shown to still have it in that aspect. Now, the other side of it is the fact that, Tuivasa is a guy that really, I think, does not have that great cardio. And he has shown that in certain spots, even in fights where it has extended at all, at any point extending. To me, he really he's sucking wind. I mean, this guy throws, everything he throws is 100% power. He's throwing a leg kick. He is trying to put his leg through you, and he is, and again, when he lands the leg kicks or lands a big shot upstairs, it's going to be damaging. It's going to be a very damaging shot, but he can't consistently do that, round after round after round. And that's what I think has hurt him. As fights are going on, he gets sloppier, the amount, the volume he's putting out is not there either. That it's starting to deteriorate as well. Just, the technique, already he's not the most technical guy. And as the fight wears on, he's just shown that it just gets more and more sloppier as the fight goes on. We've seen hands on hips, in second round, kinds of things. So that is very, very worrisome if you're taking Tuivasa, where if that starts to happen and that volume starts to go down and just the output, Tybura, the threat won't be there. He will be able to cut distance. Again, being 5 rounds, Tybura is not forced to win that first round or forced to, I got to get this first round. I can't be behind and that kind of thing. He's got 5 rounds to work. And I think he's going to play the smart game and know that, hey, I got to be, very, aware of what's going on in that first round. And then he could start to try to suffocate Tuivasa through the fight. And I think that's where this could possibly go when you're looking at it. And also something that I think a lot of people aren't talking about when you're kind of looking at this is, listen, Tuivasa has, he's got power. We got it. We understand it. Got it. But I'm just not seeing improvements. I'm just not seeing any improvements at all, just in any aspect. No additional weapons to his arsenal or anything. I mean, it's the same Tuivasa that we have seen from the very beginning of his career to right now. And if anything, I think we're seeing a deteriorating Tuivasa than we are seeing a guy that's, hey, he's, young up and comer or all these things. You're just not seeing it. I think he's 31 years old, and I think the MMA mileage is there. I just think that he doesn't set up his shots either. I mean, he's not throwing a jab and looking to set it up with a big shot. It's just looking for the big shot, the big overhand, throw some power leg kicks, big overhand, take a couple shots to the face, big overhand. And I don't know if that works consistently against higher level guys. And that's also where I'm going here when you're looking at his last 3 losses. His last 3 losses, not good. Now, he not only did he fight high level guys, because I understand that a lot of people, hey, he lost against high level guys. Okay, I understand that. But first part about that is that he was brutally beaten up. He was beaten to shit. Out of those 3 fights, all 3 took a ton of damage against big guys, big power punchers. Cyril Gane knocked him out and again, he took damage there. Definitely Tuivasa took a lot of damage. Then he fought, who was else? It was Pavlovich. Pavlovich just put him away with big shots, big damaging shots, knocks him out. And even against Alexander Volkov, this was a fight where Volkov submitted him, but Volkov landed some big damage on him and really hurt him. And that's not a good look for me when you're talking about a guy on an 0-3 run and all of them were brutal beatdowns. Now, anyone who's betting Tuivasa is going to hang their kind of hat on and say, hey, he lost, but it was 3 high-level guys. He lost to 3 high-level guys because I'm seeing that. I feel in the Twitterverse, that's kind of the thing. And, yes, first of all, yes, Tuivasa can land a bomb against anyone and beat anybody at any time. And I understand that. But his wins are not that impressive. I mean, we're talking about his losses, getting his ass kicked, in that aspect. But his wins are pretty shitty. You look at it, these guys aren't even in the UFC. Henry Hunsucker, garbage. Augusto Sakai, garbage. Greg Hardy, garbage. And then he ended up knocking out, which is probably his best win, was against Derek Lewis. But that fight with Derek Lewis was a fight where Derek Lewis came in, he looked like shit. He almost looked like he didn't want to be there. Just was not a good showing overall for him. And, he gets knocked out. Plus, both those guys are willing to just throw heavies in the middle of the cage, and pretty much that's what they did, just throw bombs. Who knows who's going to win? And actually, Lewis had him at a point, too, was landing big shots. And I think if Lewis lands those shots now, Tuivasa doesn't make it. I think there's just too much damage to him at this point. So for me in this spot here, man, I gotta go Marcin Tybura here and that small plus money, because I just think if outside of a knockout in that first round, I think that he's going to be in a lot of trouble into that second round. I think Tybura starts to meld him, starts to suffocate him, starts to wear on him, and find either a late finish, because I doubt this is going to a decision. I really think this is going to be one of those middle rounds where Tuivasa gets tired, and then he starts to just be able to get the takedowns, and there's just nothing that Ty can do. So I'm taking Marcin Tybura to get the job done at plus 105. Now, the next fight we're going to talk about here is going to be Isaac Delgaren versus Christian Rodriguez. You got Delgaren here. He's minus 190. You got Christian Rodriguez at plus 160. Now, this is going to be, I think an interesting fight here when you're looking at it. I think this is absolutely going to be an interesting fight. And I think that one of the things when you're looking at this is the first part of this is probably going to be one of the best fights on the card. I think it's going to be absolutely, from an entertainment point, I think this is going to be a really, really great fight. But from a betting perspective, I think there's an angle here. And the first thing you're looking at Delgaren here, he's 6-0. All of his wins have come in the first round. Absolutely impressive. You got to give him credit on that at any level. If we're able to do that, it's absolutely impressive. You've got C-Rod on the other side here. He's 10-1, 7 victories inside the distance. Now, that's great. All of that's great. Now, one of the things, too, you're looking at here is that Christian Rodriguez is coming up in weight. He was, last 2 fights or 3 fights, maybe it was at this point, missing weight, 3 or 4 pounds at points, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. I mean, he's missing big. And I don't know if he cares or what it is, or he's looking for an edge or whatever it is. But either way, that's pretty mumuch why the UFC said, listen, we got to move you up. We got to get you up. At this point, you're not going to make it. We got to move you up. But if you kind of look back, he was on a 3-0 run, in that division, and he looked good, beating 2 hype trains. Now, this is another talking point where people will bash, the wins that he has. And you look at it, it's Raul Rosas Jr. Now, say what you will about him, I get it. Is he going to be this? Is he going to be the next champion, or, all these things? And the kid's young, the kid's young. He's going to make mistakes. But either way you look at it, Raul Rosas Jr. is a solid wrestler. He can push, obviously there has been issues where he can't push the pace. But he's a solid fighter. Make sure it's okay. He's a solid fighter overall, I think, and he's going to consistently get better. And in that spot, he won the first round against Rodriguez, took him down, took his back, all those things. And then he just could not put Rodriguez away. And that, to me, is the biggest part of this for Rodriguez, is his ability to survive. He showed great scrambling ability. He showed great ability to kind of get back to his feet, not be, submission defense also on top of that as well. And then he took over the next 2 rounds and beat him. And I thought that was impressive. Again, people will kind of knock it. Hey, Raul Rosas Jr. is not who everybody thinks he is. Whatever it is, either way, he went out there and beat a very tough opponent in Rodriguez. Rosas Jr. And his other one was against Cameron Simon, which, again, another guy who UFC was hyping, kind of looked to be the, another guy kind of coming up in the division. A guy has opportunity, looks the part, well-rounded, good striking, all these things kind of going well for him. And Rodriguez goes out there and gets a great victory, a big win for him here, and did what he needed to do. And these are 2 spots here where Rodriguez was a dog. Here we got him as a dog again, which is, interesting, where the market is kind of looking at this fight overall. And then you got Delgaren on the other side here, where, this is the interesting part here. Now, you can't wiki cap it. You can't just look at who he's faced, and that's kind of it. But, really his best win is Francis Marshall. Now, if you look at overall, I don't really rate Francis Marshall very high. I know some people may, but Francis Marshall is just a wrestler that I don't think is really that great at MMA. I think he's a solid wrestler. I just don't think he's put it all together, and I think there's a lot of holes. And that is really the feather in the cap of Delgaren right now. And Francis Marshall looks like John Jones compared to the rest of who Delgaren has fought. I mean, Delgaren has fought the bottom of the barrel, and it's probably not even the bottom of the barrel. It's like under the barrel, like outside the barrel, under the barrel is the guys that this guy Delgaren has been fighting. Now, if you look at it just on a record standpoint here, I mean, these are the records of the guys that he's beaten. 3-4, 0-1, 3-9, 3-6, 7-3, with a combined record of 16-23. Then he goes out there and he beats Francis Marshall, who I don't rate very high, and now he's become nearly a 2-1 favorite. I just think this line, and then you have Rodriguez, who has just beat Raul Rosas Jr., who I rate high. I mean, you gotta rate him pretty high, especially off of who Delgaren has fought, and then also even Cameron Simon, who I also think is a solid fighter. Now you can't totally knock Delgaren if he's beating just bottom of the barrel guys, but I just think that puts the line, it really offsets the line and really gives just too much offering on the Rodriguez side when you're talking about this kind of plus money. So also you look at it, is stylistically speaking, just stylistically, and some of the things I got here, it's, Delgaren's going to shoot. We know he's going to shoot. He's going to look for those takedowns. And I think he will be physically the stronger guy. And I think that's going to help him. And I think that's helped him in certain spots where he can kind of bully guys, take him down, get the control time, do what he needs to do. And that's great. Again, that's great. But also on the other side here is that C-Rod is a high-level grappler, man. And again, one of the big things that I think works well for him here is his incredibly fantastic, incredibly fantastic. I don't know if that's even those words. I don't know if they fucking go together. But he's got incredible scrambling ability. I mean, it has been just time and time again. We have seen it in fights. He can scramble, get back to his feet, find opportunities to reverse. And that's really where I think Delgaren, who's going to shoot for takedowns, I think Rodriguez is going to be able to kind of outwork him in those spots. And, Delgaren, I think early is going to show a lot of success. You're going to have him where the guy who has only been in the first round in his entire MMA career, which again, short-lived, but, his career, he's never been in the second round. So you've got someone in Rodriguez who has been on some big stages, who has been in some big fights, who has been the dog, who has, been a guy who is, not supposed to win and has really outperformed his number. And that's really where I do think that if it gets out of the first round, who knows now? We know that C-Rod has the cardio. We know he's got the wrestling and the grappling and the ability to get out of bad positions. Does Delgaren? And the question marks on there, on top of the really shitty guys he's faced, to me, really, I think says that this line's just too wide. I think Delgaren should be a favorite? Yeah, I think he could edge out a little bit of a favorite here, maybe a minus 120 or something like that. But we're talking that the money consistently is coming in on Delgaren here. And I think at this point it's gone too wide. I think there's too much upside on the Rodriguez side here. So I'm taking Christian Rodriguez here, plus 160, I think is a great number. And again, I think he's got some paths. And I also think the strength of Delgaren could play into a strength of Rodriguez, just out grappling him on the ground. So I'm taking the plus money here on Christian Rodriguez at plus 160. And the last one here we're going to be talking about is Josh Kolab, also minus 190 around, versus Danny Rodriguez, plus 160. So this one should be a banger. I think this is going to be a fun fight. I think they're both going to be throwing, both good strikers. I think there's going to be a lot of fun, just as a spectator. But again, it's another spot that I do think we have an opportunity to make some money here. So you're looking at this here, and I think one of the things when you're looking at Danny Rodriguez is I'm not Danny Rodriguez. That's different. Danny Silva. Is his Dana White Contender Series fight. I thought that was really a great fight. And I'm not a guy to jump on anybody or bet anybody that's off of Dana White's Contender Series. Too many things can go wrong. His debut, strength of schedule, what kind of strength of schedule has the guy fought? Now it's his debut up, stepping up in probably tougher competition. There's a lot of things that can go wrong for the guy coming in. But Danny Silva has really, I thought he looked fantastic. When you throw 200 strikes and get multiple takedowns in a fight, that just shows you've got high volume, and it shows you've got some cardio. You can really push that pace. And he's a guy that's going to march forward. He's going to throw big shots. He's going to get in your face, and he's going to look to throw big, heavy hand shots. And that could work out well for him in this spot. Now, you got Kolab. The big issues for him are kind of the opposite of what I just said. It's Kolab has two big problems, and one of them is going to be low volume output and his ability to get takedowns. I think there is a wide gap when you kind of look at that. Not only is he low volume, but he has a negative striking differential. He gets hit a lot more than he lands shots. And that's not a good thing for a guy that can be hittable, and you're facing a guy who does have and pack some power. I think that's going to open up opportunities for him to land the shot. So the fact that he's going to be low volume and you've got a guy who's going to have that high volume output and push the pace a little bit could help him dictate the pace of the fight, force Kolab in awkward positions. Also, I think that, the strength advantage for Silva is going to be there. I think he's just going to physically be stronger. And I think his shots are going to land and cause more damage. So you're going to kind of see, I think optically, when he's landing a big shot, you're going to see bigger reaction from Josh than when, Josh lands on Silva. I think you're going to see, just the power difference in both of them. And the fact that now this is in the Apex cage, I think now that the Apex cage actually does help Silva in this spot here, where I think that, he's a guy that's going to push forward, bully forward, throw big shots. He's a guy that's come from Dana White's Contender Series, obviously fought in the Apex cage. And this is a spot where I just think that that's going to help him. Now, the other part about this is that if it gets to the ground, and, Kolab, he is slick on the ground. When the fight gets to the ground, this guy is, his back takes are good. He's pretty slick, just kind of finding opportunities and very opportunistic. Once the fight gets to the ground, he's very slick there. But the issue here is he just can't get it there. He's just on, he needs help getting it there. He's not a guy that is able to do it. Since he's been in the UFC, he has been unsuccessful on every single takedown. He's 0 for 13 on takedowns in the UFC. That's not a good sign for a guy that wants to, although he's well-rounded, but that's a weapon of his that I don't think he can use in this spot here against Danny Silva, who I again think will have that physicality advantage, will be able to kind of defend certain things and find opportunities to either, create space and then march forward again and throw the big shot. So I think the volume of for Silva is going to be there. I think he's going to be the better minute winner. I think that he can land the shots, have the more damaging shots, also be the physically stronger guy landing the damage. I think there's a lot that goes up against Kolab, who's going to have that low volume, who can't get the fight down. And I think this really sits well for Danny Silva here. So I like Danny Silva plus 160, I think is another great number. We're talking plus money. That's what we do here. We talk plus money here. And that's a spot here that we really like. So I got to take it, man. I got to take Danny Silva as the other free play to get the job done at plus 160. So there you have it. There you have it for UFC Vegas 88. Excited about it. Looking to cash my 8th straight event. If you want to pick up my pack, Wagertalk.com. Check me out. We have the pack there up. I'm feeling good. Got to keep it going. And let's cash this weekend, and we will do this all over again. See you next week.